Have you ever met someone, and without a word, everything inside you just paused? The air felt heavier, the world grew quieter, and time, just for a moment, stepped back to watch. You didn't plan it, you didn't chase it, but there they were, a stranger who felt like a memory. It wasn't a desire, nor was it a chance. It was something deeper, something older, like recognition. Not new, not random, ancient, written in the marrow of your being, as if your soul had been whispering their name long before your mind knew how to listen. Carl Jung, the renowned depth psychologist, had a name for moments like these. He called them synchronicity, a mysterious alignment between the inner world and the outer world, so precise it feels divine. These aren't coincidences. They unfold like destiny, unplanned yet unmistakable. This isn't just about love. It's about something sacred, something written between lifetimes. If someone once crossed your path and stirred something timeless you couldn't explain, and you've carried the question ever since, why them? Why then? This isn't a coincidence. It's the moment you begin to understand. When something truly sacred approaches, it doesn't come with noise, it comes with precision. You won't hear trumpets, but something inside you will shift, irrevocably. You'll notice the stillness before the storm, the breath that catches without warning. Jung taught us that the unconscious isn't chaos, it's intelligence, operating beneath the ego's timeline. When someone appears who stirs your soul, it isn't randomness, it's alignment. The first sign won't be intensity, it will be recognition, a simple, sacred knowing. You won't know why, but you'll know them, as if you've met before in dreams, in a life you can't name but always felt. It's not just that they're attractive or say the right things. Their presence silences the room, and in that silence, you hear yourself more clearly than ever before. That is the first sign. Clarity without explanation. A connection that feels like home. Not the kind you've known, but the kind you've been searching for since before you knew what to call it. You weren't just looking for love. You were looking for yourself, hidden in another's eyes. As Jung wrote, what is not brought to consciousness comes to us as fate. You don't find them when you wish. You find them when your unconscious is ready to speak through them. But the signs don't stop at recognition. They echo, repeat, follow you into ordinary life. You think of them, and a song plays with the exact words you've never said. You're walking down the street and their name appears on a passing truck. A text arrives not when you expect it, but the very second you release the thought. These are alignments. Jung called this synchronicity, not causality, but meaning. Events that link not through logic, but through significance. When a soul connection is destined, the universe doesn't organize events like a calendar. It orchestrates meaning like a symphony, layering symbols, repeating patterns not to impress you, but to wake you. The more you pay attention, the more it speaks. And here's the paradox. The less you chase it, the louder it gets. Not because you're manifesting it, but because your inner world is finally tuned to receive it. You started to face your shadow, touched what was hidden, and for the first time saw the difference between longing and readiness. There's a hidden truth in the universe that is God. It whispers when you're finally ready. You didn't fall for them. You fell into yourself through them. What most people call love is often just comfort, soft edges, familiar feelings. But soul connections don't comfort you at first. They disorient, stir the waters, disrupt the version of you that could survive on autopilot. This person doesn't just reflect your beauty, they reflect your shadow, the forgotten, fragmented pieces you thought you could leave behind. They awaken what you exiled, speak to the part of you that has no words. Without trying, they've entered the locked room inside you, the one even you were afraid to open. Jung called this projection, the unconscious transfer of your inner world onto another. When the connection is real, the projection isn't random, it's precise, archetypal. You're drawn to their calm because your mind is loud. You admire their presence because your past made you vanish. You ache when they leave not because they are your only light, but because their absence stirs shadows you've never faced alone. This isn't romance, this is recognition. They didn't come to heal you, they came to show you what still needs healing. In that reflection, you see your own architecture is unfinished, radiant, trembling. You see the self you've been building in secret, and the cost of your hiding. This love isn't a destination, it's a mirror, a sacred one that shows not how beautiful you are, but how ready you are to begin. The synchronicity wasn't just about finding them. It was about finding you through the doorway of that love. Here's what nobody tells you. When the universe sends someone who touches your soul, it doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it burns. Not because they're toxic or you're unworthy, but because their presence activates parts you've spent years avoiding. Their gaze brushes against a door you've kept sealed. Their silence exposes wounds you never named. Jung warned, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is that moment, when the soul stops waiting and begins to initiate the ego. You stop blaming past lovers, stop scripting the same story of abandonment. Instead, you feel it all. The grief you never processed, the longing you disguised as independence, the anger you translated into perfectionism. This isn't heartbreak, this is initiation. The real connection doesn't flatter your persona, it confronts it. It asks gently but relentlessly, can you feel this pain without making it mean you're unworthy? Can you stay present with the wound instead of turning it into performance? Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. That is exactly what sacred pain demands, that you stop editing your soul, stop chasing healing as performance, surrender to the kind of honesty that doesn't seek approval, only integration. Some people arrive like a sunrise, poor, unforgettable, perfectly timed, but they don't always stay for the afternoon. That's the ache no one prepares you for. The ones who touch your soul most deeply are sometimes the ones who have to go. Not because the love wasn't real, but because their role was transformation, not possession. Not every soul you recognize is meant to remain. Some are sent to awaken you and then return to wherever they came from. Jung wrote, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. That's the point. Not endurance, not outcome, but transformation. You remember them not for how long they stayed, but for how deeply they moved something in you. They didn't leave you empty. They left you different. They left with the version of you who hadn't yet awakened. You can't summon this kind of love by wishing for it. The universe doesn't respond to longing. It responds to readiness. If you're still begging for attention, still lost in self-abandonment, then what arrives will reflect that chaos. Not a soulmate, a lesson. But the moment you begin to heal, not perfectly but honestly, the mirror changes. You stop chasing the one who triggers your abandonment wound. You stop confusing emotional intensity with spiritual recognition. Your soul quiets. You feel whole without a witness. That's when the universe sends someone not to save you, but to walk beside the version of you that already knows, I am ready. Not because I found them, but because I finally found them. As Jung understood, the psyche doesn't move according to will. It moves according to structure. The universe answers not your craving, but your coherence. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The universe waits until you shift, until you stop chasing competition outside yourself, until you begin building a life energetically shaped to hold what you once only hoped for. Then without warning, something changes. The people you attract change. The patterns dissolve. The next connection doesn't come to trigger your trauma. It comes to meet your maturity. There's one final sign that doesn't get talked about enough. It doesn't arrive as butterflies or dramatic signals. It whispers. It arrives as peace, e.g., a knowing that needs no permission, no proof. The stillness after the storm, the feeling that something has been rearranged inside you, gently, permanently, not because someone gave you love, but because you no longer seek it as permission to exist. The person may stay, they may leave, but the shift remains. You no longer ask why they came. You just trust that your soul called something forth and it answered, and now you're different. As Jung once wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That is the real sign of a connection aligned by the universe. It doesn't just change your heart, it restores yourself. Has the universe ever sent someone into your life without warning, yet somehow made you feel more awake, more alive than you thought possible? Did they arrive quietly and leave before you knew how to let them go? And still, do they echo somewhere in your breath? not as fantasy, but as a moment that rearranged you. If someone comes to mind, honor it. You're not alone in carrying a story that doesn't fit language. The universe doesn't shout, it whispers. And maybe, just maybe, today, it whispered through this. Hit the subscribe button and turn the notification for more. Welcome to Empire of the Mind.